The challenge is realizing and experiencing directly the state beyond the mind-identified state. Because once you begin to experience it, because it can't be described in words, it's not a conceptual state. It's just the awareness, the beingness, just sitting and being with no thought. If there's no thought, there's just silence. And don't make a thing out of silence either. Don't make a mental formation out of silence. But this is what people can't do. If I ever want to torture people, I just got to put them in a room and be like, just sit and breathe for an hour. They're like, ah!
Hey, Tom, I'm going to ask a question.
Sure.
So, I heard you once say that you have a different relationship to pain than I do, for example,
Yeah.
specifically. Like pain comes up and our relationship to pain is different. Or that the way you, your attention to a situation or thoughts is different. And using that example of the billionaire guy, and just bringing it into our worlds, if I was bankrupt tomorrow or 5 minutes from now, I would be thinking negatively and terrible and depressed and upset, and I would focus all my attention on that, and I could see myself jumping in front of the train or whatever happened there. Yet you know, I'm believing that if your situation was the same and you were bankrupt tomorrow, you wouldn't experience all that pain, suffering, and that's essentially why I keep coming here. Is to say,
And by the way, he had 50 million in the bank. You know, that was
Right,
like kind of the
right.
moral of the story.
Yeah, I
but
know.
I don't live life. You know, life lives me. And whatever experience comes to me in life comes for me and not to me. And there are opportunities in every experience. Now, do I work hard to take care of myself, to make sure that I'm healthy physically, mentally? You know, my practice is very strong, you know, so that I can remain in the present in peaceful state. But those times, even when what I mean by my relationship has changed to my pain and suffering, doesn't mean that the pain and suffering for me doesn't sometimes come. It comes. I'm Italian. I'm an expert sufferer. And it's just that my relationship has changed, that suffering is no longer me. I'm not the one suffering. I'm the one experiencing, observing discomfort coming up in the body. I'm observing all kinds of discursive thoughts in the mind. But it's like me looking out the window watching a hurricane. I'm safe inside. Those things are not me. Remember this word, identification. That word has been used a lot, and it sneaks out, identification, but I don't think that people really pick up how important a word that is. When I say, or anyone says, you're identified as your mind, you're identified as the thoughts, that means you are believing them to be you. If you identified as Santa Claus, you know, you're believing yourself to be Santa Claus. This is not, you know, like real as the nose on your face. You've heard me say before, but it's so powerful I like to repeat it often. You know, I used to identify as Tom Notarianni. But is there a Tom Notarianni? Let's ask the new folks. Did I come to Earth Tom Notarianni? When did I become Tom Notarianni? And don't think too hard about it. The answer is painfully obvious. when my parents named me. And then for the rest of my life, I was falsely believing myself to be Tom Notarianni. I'm not Tom Notarianni. There is no Tom Notarianni. Tom Notarianni is just an idea. And where that idea started was when I was born, my parents looked at me and said, "You're Tom, you're Tom, you're Tom, you're Tom, you're Tom, you're Tom, you're Tom." I said, "Okay, I must be Tom." They keep calling me Tom. And it doesn't stop there. Tom, you're a good boy if you do this, a bad boy if you do that. You need to live life this way, not that way. Believe this, don't believe that. Do this, don't do that. And what a Tom Notarianni is, just like what a fish is, becomes an idea in my mind. So I am identified as that idea. It's perfectly clear, right? It's gonna. Your mind is not gonna like hearing this. Your ego is not gonna like hearing this because I'm challenging your ego. But you can see that so plainly. There's nothing to believe there, right? You know? You came here, you got named, now you believe you're that. You also believe you're on Earth. You also believe that this is Wednesday. Those are all just ideas in your head. The birds don't know it's Wednesday. And so you have this whole storyfied world, the story of, the conceptual identity of who you are, and the conceptual idea of the world that you live in. And your world is unique unto you. Nobody else lives in your world. And you don't live in anybody else's world. This is the place where worlds intersect. We are on the same world, but not in the same world.